Welcome to Oaklawn Wire to Wire, horse handicapping for Oaklawn Park for Saturday, February 22nd, 2020. I'm Mark Robinette, and joining me from Hot Springs, Arkansas is Coach William Rountree. How's it going today, Coach?
Going great, Mark. Very, very pleased to be with you, and happy to be here on Wire to Wire for week number 2. And, like with any endeavor that we start afresh, we're going to try to develop this thing week by week, but had several nice compliments on our opening week, so I'm ready to pick some horses.
Oh, I can't agree with you more, Coach. I've been looking at this racing card. This is a very, very tough card this week. But before we get on to this week, let's talk a little bit about last week's card briefly and how the folks would have done had they taken some of our advice. I'm looking at my formulations here. I hit a couple of good licks here. Race 5, I had a 50-cent trifecta part wheel, paid $64.96. Race 4, I had a 10-set superfecta part wheel, paid $25.29. Race 2, also a 10-cent superfecta part wheel, which paid $10.80. One other inconsequential win there was my daily double, race 1 and 2, paid $4.10. And then, of course, as this goes, when you formulate exotic bets, you get a lot of losers. And you have to stick with the program and stay disciplined. You stuck with me last week, you would have walked away after making the minimum bet, $26.69. And I will proudly say of my top 3 horses, I hit 20 of 30, pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty darn good. Coach, I've got you down.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I've got you down here, Coach. You hit your 368 of exacta box in race 2, paid $5.10. Your 7 to win race 3, paid $5.40. And what I must congratulate you on, much to my chagrin, was your pick in the Dixie Belle ringleader. What did you think of the Dixie Belle, Coach?
Coach, Mark, the ringleader to me, and sometimes you have to be at the track to watch in person. And when ringleader, and we talked about this last week, when ringleader won on the opening day of Oaklawn with Irad Ortiz up and went off at 11 or 12 to 1, I just thought that was an eye-catching horse. So as we handicapped the card and mentioned last week, we definitely were going to play it back. Here's why I think this horse now is a next-level horse. He'd been winning his previous 2 outs on the front and front only. Saturday in the Dixie Belle, it was almost like he got out, stopped, and then rebroke. And when he rebroke, he was definitely the class of, albeit a small field, but a very quality field. I think ringleader's an outstanding horse with a lot of upside. We were very fortunate, cashed a major wager on ringleader, and he made us a good day.
Well, I'll tell you what, I saw what you saw. I saw that horse come out of the gate, literally stop for maybe a half a second, and then take off. I thought he was going to throw the rider. He stopped so quickly out of the gate. And yet still rallies, wins the race, very exciting race. Hope to see some big things out of ringleader in the future. But that,
I think we will.
$5 to 1.
Yeah, very good payer there. We had 300 to win, 100 to place on it. Made a nice score. Had a good Saturday.
Well, any day that any Saturday that you're at the track is a good Saturday in my book, Coach. Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, let's move on to the card for this week. Tough card. Was that your feeling? Yeah.
Absolutely my feeling. Tough card, and here's what I base. And I like the contrasting styles that we're offering our listeners and viewers. You're taking an angle of the recreational player with minimal wagering on a one-day run to the track, and your record was outstanding last week. Of course, I'm kind of looking at it from a different perspective because I base the majority of my play on the win bet and the keying of a horse. This was a card I felt very, very difficult in choosing a key horse because there was so much balance in the field. And that doesn't mean they're all great races because there's a couple races here of low level, but it's hard to pick the winner.
Absolutely. I felt the exact same way. I will say that will make for a very exciting day of racing. You're going to have a lot of good races because the fields are so balanced in some of the races on Saturday's card. Let's get going with race number 1. Where do you see race number 1 going here, Coach? We got a 6-furlong starter allowance race.
Sometimes, Mark, and this can be good and bad, sometimes you chase a horse, you chase a horse, you chase a horse. I'm going to chase a horse one more time. His third out of the meet, and he gets Santana riding him today. He's set in at 5-2. I don't know that he will be the favorite in this race, but I'm going to play the 5 Severe, and I'm going to use the 1 and 2 with him. So if you're doing a 3-horse box, I'd box a 1, 2, 5. I'll play the 5 here to win in place.
So you think a 5 win in place, exacta box 1, 2, 5?
That's what I've got on my card. But again, you can make a case for a lot of these.
You absolutely can. I like the number 1 pick. Of course, you're getting the paired pick. With that horse, you're going to get, or with the number 1 pick, you're going to get Conqueror. With Conqueror, you look at the stats on this, Coach. Of course, you got Robertino Diodoro training. You got David Cohen aboard. You got a buyer in excess of 80 for Oaklawn Park, and the statistical combinations: the 2 off 45, 1 last start, the dirt and the sprint. You're above 20%. Your 1 last start at 28%. Your 25 off 45 to 180 over 30%. So I think the 1 is definitely a solid pick, but not my pick. Also, Spokane Eagle, number 2, got Rocco on board. This horse has been a favorite quite a bit. It has an excellent Tomlinson number, 436, for this distance. Certainly could make a case for that horse. And then Sevier, which would be your key horse here, coming down in class. Excellent recent performances, excellent buyer numbers. So, Coach, I like your picks, but as we discussed, we have a very balanced card, or very balanced races within our card this Saturday. What I'm going with here is I'm going to steal a page from your book, and I'm going to make a very rare value pick. I like, Coach, number 6, King of Court. Now, my reasoning here, if you examine the numbers closely, you'll see King of Court has consistently turned in at the 6-furlong distance times of 1:08. And you don't see that kind of raw speed in some of these other horses. You look at his history outside of the 5-post, he does very well. The works are very solid. And the buyer number at Oaklawn Park, a 94 buyer at the distance, and almost 400 Tomlinson number, and a younger horse, Coach, just a 5-year-old. So I think we could get a very good price on the number 6. I'm going to play this win place show. I'm going to do a recreational bet on this. I'm going to go 6 to win, 4 to place, 2 to place, 4 to show is where I'm going with this one, Coach. What do you think?
Nice pick. No, I think it's a nice pick. I think you explained your pick well, and I think it certainly you'll get paid on that because he will be one of the longer shots in the race.
Yeah, I think that people will be discouraged by the jockey trainer stats, but I see a little more there. See a potential for a big value in King of Court, number 6, although I may wind up with egg on my face for it, but occasionally I do like to do a value pick. And I just found the race so balanced, I really could not find the standout horse, couldn't find the duel. Well, let's go on to race number 2. We have another 6-furlong race, maiden claiming. This one, I really did not know what to do. I thought instead of just talking about this race, we could talk about cigars. But I guess we do need to talk about this race a little bit, Coach.
If we're going to pick horses, we got to talk about the race. I'll tell you what I did. I've used a little 3-horse box here. I'd use the 2, 6, and 8. Probably would play the 2. I'd play him back. If you look at the running line, he's had 1 out. It was on a less than fast track. He broke in. He got bumped. He was tied. You know, just kind of wore him out. He was there third by 2.5, and then the bumping occurred. He finished 9th. He had come into that race off a nice workout from the gate. Out of Moonshine Mullen, I'll give him another chance out of the 2-hole. I used Jinx Fire's horse. He's cutting it back in distance, and he had a workout after the race. The race he did nothing in. And then, you know, the other thing is that's our girl Kelsey Harr from Hazen, who the other day had a riding double, her first riding double ever at Oaklawn. And then the third one I threw in was the 8, kind of the same angle as I'm using with the 2. Pinched at the start. He at least finished his race with a little bit of run the other day. Has worked since his race. So in a Arkansas-bred maiden claimer where who knows what's going to happen, I went 2, 6, 8.
2, 6, 8. And what would your strategy be here? Are you going to do an exacta box, or are you going to?
Yeah, I'd box those in a small exacta box, and I might play the 2 to win. But not a major play. I mean, but I just giving him another chance. You know, Barkley hadn't won a race yet. He's a good young trainer. Randy Patterson, Arkansas-bred guy. He breeds them himself. He owns a lot of horses. So I'd give this horse another chance.
Okay. Coach, that's why you're here, Coach. The depth of the knowledge on the racing scene there in Hot Springs, knowing all the players, knowing the history of the animals. I do not have that experience. I'm a numbers man myself, and gosh, I don't have any numbers to work with in this race, and I'm finding it very difficult to play anything or pick anything at all. If you had to hold a gun to my head and said, Mark, pick some horses or die, this is what I would do. I'm going to play the jockeys in this race, and I'm going to play the post position in this race. Looking at the statistics on likely winners in post positions, I'm going to go 1, 4, and 7 in a superfecta part wheel. That'd be my first position, then 1, 4, second, and 7 in the second position, 1, 4, 5, 7, 9 in the third, and then go ahead and wheel it all post positions 1 through 9 in the final position. Little bit of a pricey bet, $12. I honestly could, take this race or leave it. I just don't see anything here numbers-wise that is going to motivate me at all. I see a lot of things that would demotivate me. So I might sit this one out, maybe have a cigar or something, not bet it.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something, and our people tuned in need to hear this and hear it loud and clear. whether you're betting recreationally or you're betting larger wagers, one needs to understand there is absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, there's a lot right with sitting out races. Don't bet just to bet. That's just throwing your money to win. And I think you make a nice point here. Not a lot of information. These are Arkansas-bred maiden claimers. Would not be anything wrong at all with taking a perusal around the apron with a good cigar furnished by our friends at Arkansas Pipe and Tobacco and enjoy a little scenery.
I agree. Yes, Coach, and also a great plug for our friends there. An excellent place to hang around, have a cup of coffee and a cigar, and have some good conversation. Go visit our friend Greg McGee, who runs the joints at 2860 South University in Little Rock, across the street from Euler in the Broadmoor Shopping Center. Not right off the interstate exit, but worth the stop in. I think right now, Coach, Greg is clearing out all of his La Paulinas. Have you tried any of those?
I have. And there's I think the guy's name's Jeff that was with another cigar company and then has moved to La Paulina out of Dallas, a sales guy. And I have tried. I've tried several of them, actually.
Yeah, I'm very partial to the Rosado. It's smooth and it's spicy. It's a very interesting wrapper. So right now, he's got all of those half off. They're clearing them out. You can get a really good stick for about $5.50. So, if you're on your way to the track on Saturday, make a little detour, go to Pipe and Tobacco, and help yourself to one of those La Paulinas while they last.
A good point, and good way to spend the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving on then. And Coach, we did not discuss track conditions. We just kind of rolled into this. Have you been out to the track any this week, and what are you seeing? Where are we going to be at condition-wise by Saturday with the weather as it is?
Saturday will be the best day, Mark. Friday's sunshine, and went out and watched some workouts, and it's going to be a nice day Friday, another day of dry. Saturday should be fast track conditions. We've had to battle some rain. It was muddy on Thursday. So I think as far as planning your day, Saturday would be the best weather day of the racing week.
Do you think that we're going to make it to a good condition track, fast condition track? Is it going to be muddy?
Well, I think Saturday will be a fast. I think Saturday will be a fast track. I think it'll go. We're visiting here a day ahead, but I think Friday as the surface opens, it'll be good. Might move to fast before the end of the day Friday.
Well, that would be great. Because, I mean, Oaklawn, being a dirt track, the difference in track condition is huge. It's not a synthetic surface, and we're going to see some of that in later in the card here. I noticed we had a fair number of horses coming off of synthetic or turf. It takes a very different kind of horse to run on the dirt at Oaklawn as opposed to the turf and synthetic surfaces that are put out there. Oaklawn is a legitimate dirt track. There's nothing funny about it. It has to be taken out and resorted. Some of these parks, let's say like Remington Park, they've got that new product, Coach. What is that called? It's like a sand with like a wax in it. I did read yesterday in the forum that Turfway's taking its polytrack up and going to this Tapeta, T-A-P-E-T-A. Presque Isle, 2 or 3 others have that. So I like the dirt. I much prefer handicapping the dirt. Me too. It's the way I grew up, and I really hope we never go that way. It is expensive. You remember at the Oaklawn premiere how Louis Sella was talking about the time and expense of taking out that surface and resorting it. It is a pretty big deal, but I think very much worth it. There's no sound. The sound cannot be replicated any other way when you hear a horse thundering down a dirt track.
You're right. Better move to race 3, Marky.
Okay. race number 3. I think we're seeing, once again, that balance within these races in this card is kind of rearing up here again. But I had a little more clarity in this race, I thought. What I've got coming into it, looking at a very good, well, at least a very balanced field of horses, 6 furlong race, maiden claiming, a little bit better price here, $25,000. What I've got number 3, Mayan Ghost. I'm sorry, I may be looking at the wrong card. I have number 1, Mayan Ghost.
Right.
And in fact, I may have this messed up because I had to, Coach, I've got 2 versions of the card, one without the post draw, one with. So I may have my...
Yeah, Mayan Ghost is the one, and when you also get him, you get the 1A, Trash Talking Yankee.
You absolutely do. You absolutely do. So I have got Mayan Ghost. I have got Flash of Silver. And then I also have number 4, Battlestown. Those are going to be my 3 key horses. And in fact, Coach, I think I might have told everyone the wrong bet on the last race because I've got this written down on a piece of paper. Didn't have time to get it out in a nice chart. Yeah, in fact, I think I did, Coach. We're going to have to revisit race number 2 briefly. All right. So what I've got on this race, which I announced for the last race, is actually the Superfecta 147, 147, 14, add 5 and 9 for the 3rd position, and then wheel out 1 through 9. So that was I announced that incorrectly. But Mayan Ghost, you're getting the pairing, of course. Number 7 seems to be the odds-on favorite at the beginning of betting. And then number 4, a little bit better price, but I like the Asmussen-Santana combination. Just looks like a much better quality horse. So that's what I'm going to advise folks to do. We're going to do a Superfecta part wheel. So do you think we're going to see? I mean, gosh, we've got a lot of good jockeys in this race. We've got a lot of balanced horses. We don't have a lot of information on these horses. Where do you see this race going?
I wrote down one horse, Mark, and it's not necessarily a betting race for me. It'll be part of a horizontal wager. I'll probably single the 7, Wayne Catalano, Flash of Silver, coming in from the fairgrounds. He ran there on a sloppy track, ran a second. He's worked at Oaklawn. Gary and Mary West own it. They gave $100,000 for the horse. Pretty good, well-bred horse. Again, you make a case for a lot of the horses here. I'm not going to invest a lot of money. I'll use the 7 as a single in my pick 4 wager that started in race 1, and pretty well leave it alone. I didn't look at this as a great betting race.
I did not either. This race, we're at 6 furlongs. We've got, as I said, a lot of good jockeys in this race. Stuart Elliott, David Cohen, Ricardo Santana, got Garcia, Quinones, Vasquez. I mean,
Yeah, they're all in there. Yeah, they're all in there.
Yeah, so this is going to be a lot of fun for them. Oh, we got Tyler Bays, too. So all the top jockeys are in this race, and there's not a lot to be learned from these horses. I think you definitely play the pairing in there in one way or the other if you're going to do an exotic bet. But I do agree with you. If I had to key a horse, it would be the number 7 horse. I find it interesting that you are going to risk a horizontal wager with the card the way it is today. Do you have? Are you?
Well, here's the deal about that. You can invest a fortune if you start using a bunch in every race. So on my card for a pick 4, For $1 pick 4, I'm investing $45. I'm using 3 in race 1, 3 in race 2, 1 in race 3, using 5 horses in race 4. And, if something with a price is in that deal, great. If not, it's $45.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's a good value. Could be a huge reward.
Yeah, I think race 4 is where the money.
Yeah, I agree. Let me backpedal real quick to race 2. I do apologize. I announced my bet for race 3 for race 2. In fact, what I've got here for race 2 is going to be a 1-7-3-12 exacta box. I'm playing the jockeys, Walter De La Cruz, Fernando De La Cruz, and I'm also playing the posts, which are the most winning posts by position, which 1 and 7 happen to be, as does position 3 and position 12. So to make it clear, that is my bet for race number 2, 1-7-3-12, $1 exacta box. So ignore what I said about the superfecta. That was actually my race 3 bet. I did not write that down properly on my sheet. But race number 4, what do we have here in race number 4, Coach?
I'm using 5 horses at the bottom of my pick 4. I'm using the 4, 5, 6, 10, and 12. I've really not settled on a bet horse as far as a win-place horse, but I'm using those 5 to complete my pick 4. I think this race could pay a tub full in your exotics, of the exacta, the trifecta, the super. A price horse definitely could come out of this.
I agree. And this might be one that you really want to watch carefully if you're an exotic bettor like myself. And Coach, to back up for a second, so your pick 4, you have in race 3, you're going to include the 7 horse. In race 4, you're going to complete it with 4, 5, 6, 10, and 12. What was your first, race 1 and 2?
But race 1, I'm going to use the 1, 2, 5. Race 2, I'm going to use the 2, 6, 8. Race 3, I'm going to single the 7. And race 4, I'm going to use the 4, 5, 6, 10, 12.
Wow. $45 bet, and I think you're right.
$1.
It could certainly
you
could back the truck up there and get all this cash if that pays off for you, Coach. I know you've had a lot of success with exotics in the past.
They're fun when you hit them.
They are. I tell you, I like race 4 a lot. This is our first route race at 1 mile and a 16th. You've got a lot of horses here. Again, the theme of this card seems to be balance within the race. I could make a case for a lot of these horses.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on the outset? Just a first glance at this race. What are you thinking, Coach?
Well, I mean, I think you're exactly right. I think there's some balance there, and you wonder. You've got some of the horses that have been at a pretty good level, but now, Mark, they're dropping down to the basement. This is a $6,250 claimer. Might be a good race for those that were looking about claiming a horse. You might get a serviceable claiming horse here out of this field, but hard to for me to say, hey, this one's going to win, or I'm going to bet this one. Honestly, if you made me pick one, I might very well go with the 10 Shakedown. Unknown trainer in Chelsea Cody hadn't won any at Oaklawn. Think maybe that might. But like I said, I'm using 5 horses, so I'm not sold on anything. But that's kind of the way I see the race. Some of these at times were pretty good. They've either gotten old or they never materialized or whatever. So you've got to You got a bottom level distance claiming race.
Yeah, it is 6250. You can just about claim one and go take it home and put it in your backyard if you want it. But
Yeah.
I look, a lot of these horses, what you're seeing is you're seeing some good past performances and then just a sudden drop off, which makes you wonder if the horse has been sick or if the horse is hurt. Could be the case. I noticed number 4, Darren's Fortune, and number 6, Gray Phantom. They both appear to have run most of their careers on a synthetic or turf. In fact, number 6, I'm looking at the numbers here, has been to Oaklawn Park once, did not win, ran a 69 buyer. But you look at the numbers, most of the earnings on the synthetic, 114,000 out of his 157,000 earnings. So this horse has been running synthetics almost all of its career. It looks like its one dirt appearance was in January of this year at Oaklawn Park on the 24th. You look at number 4, Darren's Fortune, another horse that appears to have run quite a bit of its career on the synthetic. Has put its hooves on Oaklawn, has worked here. So that is a big consideration when you're handicapping a race like this. Is the horse comfortable running on the dirt?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Darren's Fortune. He's a stretch out. I think they'll put him right up to the lead. And, have to see what goes with him. That's one of the things, as I looked at Shakedown, a little bit of a stalk close, opportunity there, and might go under the radar. But like I said, I don't have a win bet here. This is a kind of a crapshoot of bottom level claimers. So
I agree, but I think the numbers can tell a bigger story, particularly if you examine their buyer figures. Where are their buyer figures? Are they close to their lifetime buyer, or are they at the bottom end of their lifetime buyer? Looking at the Oaklawn Park buyers as well, and I see a little more consistency in some of these horses, which is going to manage your risk. For example, number 3, Switherall, or what I'm seeing there is the horse is running a 70 buyer at Oaklawn Park, 78 buyer for lifetime. Recent performances have been from the all throughout the 60s in buyer performance. So it's certainly conceivable this horse could run its historical buyer, provide a little bit of assurance for you if you're doing a bet. The number 6 horse also running a buyer at about 69 in Oaklawn Park, lifetime of 84. Its real stock and trade is synthetic at 84, but has shown, and this horse has been worked at Oaklawn at least since January 10th, has run a race at Oaklawn, and is still pulling out a 69 buyer. I could see that horse doing quite well. Also has Orlando Mojica on board, and this is a Deodoro horse, and he is our top trainer right now. Switherall, number 3, as I said, like the consistency there, but certainly not having the best jockey or the best trainer, but I see something there in the consistency of its performance. I also like number 8, Gospel Abe, and that seems to be one of the favorites in the race. We have Garcia aboard. We have Villafranco training the horse. This horse is running a 78 buyer at Oaklawn Park. Recent performances at Oaklawn were in the 70s. Ran a 70 and a 72. It's run twice in this meet. So within this field, I think those 3 horses have some consistency. I think they could definitely pay a good bet here. I can't discount some of these others. I mean, I could make a case for a few others. I had to take a very, very, very long look at number 5, Opportunistic. I saw potentially some value there, but the longer
I
I
did
looked,
too. I used him.
Yeah, the longer I looked at the performance history, gosh, I mean, this horse is running a 77 buyer. Next race, running, 64, then down to 57, 64, 35, and all over the place. I watched his last race on the replay on my TVG account, and just looked weak. The horse looked very weak, like just not feeling well. I don't know. So I wound up tossing the horse, and what I'm going to stick with in this race, I'm going to do a trifecta. I believe we're going to have a fight between 3, 6, and 8 for the first position and the second position, and then I'm going to add 4, 7, 9, and 10 for the third position. Hopefully that is going to pay for me. Although, I think about it more and more, I might consider throwing the 10 in there somewhere, but I have to manage the price of these bets. So I'm going to stick with 3 horses dueling for first and second, and then add a few more there at the end.
Very good. Very good. All right, we got a 10-race card, so we probably,
we got to get interest of. I hear you. Yeah. So, all righty. Race number 5, Coach. We've got another 6 furlong sprint. What is your take on
these? Mark, these are good Arkansas bred horses. This is a 6 furlong sprint allowance race of Arkansas bred horses that have proven to be good horses. A lot of wins amongst this group. When you look down through the history of them, I'll tell you an interesting horse here, which has been a good horse so far this meet. Take a look at the 5 here. When the Doves Cry. Young guy, trains at Shea Stewart. His dad, Clinton Stewart, a very successful longtime trainer. A lot of the background in the Oklahoma, Texas circuit. Interesting thing about When the Doves Cry, he's 1 for 1 in Arkansas bred races. He's been all over the place running in open company, and he's 1 for 1 as an Arkansas bred. I thought that was interesting. I definitely think he's a must-use. The horse to beat's a 6, Hunani Road. Look at his stats at Oaklawn. He's 7 for 7.
But
he's never been beaten. He's had quite a layoff. That's why I couldn't single him. I used When the Doves Cry. Obviously, I used Hunani Road. I used a long shot that's got an angle to it to me. I used the 3, J.E.'s Hand-Me-Down. J.E.'s Hand-Me-Down's connections, David Whited and El Tirio Altamirano, they won a race earlier in the meet. This horse likes Oaklawn, so I used him. And the horse that I'm going to play to win, no surprise for people that follow the podcast, they know my feelings of this trainer. I'm going to play the 1, Glacken's Ghost.
You know, I cannot gainsay that pick, Coach. I think that's a great pick. What did you? I mean, again, the theme of this card seems to be balance, and I'll tell you, I couldn't start tossing horses until, geez, it's an 8-horse field. I only feel confident in tossing the 7 and the 8. To be honest with you, Coach.
Yeah,
what I'm Go ahead.
I could see that. And honestly, believe it or not, the 8, her one race, or his one race, Kelsey wrote it, wasn't bad. He got into some traffic and then he closed pretty good. But yeah, it's a competitive bunch. If Hunani Road is right off the layoff, they're probably all running for second. But that's a long layoff.
I agree, and I love your pick with Doves Cry. I've got it in here. What I see is this as probably a duel between the 5 and the 6. However, I am going to throw in to the mix for a little more value, number 2, KJ's Nobility. This is the Burrells running a horse. Really like the Oaklawn buyer at 85. This horse has run against Hunandy Road a few times. Looks like the horse is set up and ready to go. I think you're going to get a good price. All the outs that this horse has had has been in the money, so could certainly come forth. Also a 90 buyer on dirt tracks. I think that you could get a lot of value in there because I think that Hunandy Road is going to be bet down so much that you're going to get a good price on When Doves Cry, really any other horse in this field. So the key is getting your best value picks into your exotic if you're running my strategy. So what I am going to do, I am going to play the 2, 5, and the 6 for first in a 50-cent trifecta. And then I am going to go ahead and add in 1, 3, and 4 for the second and third positions. This will be a little bit pricier bet, but because we're going to see, and every pool is different, of course, Coach. It's hard to know if everybody is thinking like me. Good examples, the Dixie Belle last week. Everybody, small field, everyone buys the 10-cent superfecta box, and, they get half as much as what they paid for the bet, just about. I mean, they get less because the track takeouts and the breakage. I don't think people will be thinking that way on this race. I think the trifecta pool ought to be pretty solid. But I know last week with the Dixie Belle, you could have played the trifecta pool and doubled your money plus some because people were not thinking that way. I think that'll be the case here. I like the 50-cent trifecta part wheel. Definitely When Doves Cry and Hunandy Road, and the rest of them, the only 2 tosses I possibly see are 7 and 8. But we'll see. All right, let's move on to race
that'd be a good race.
6. Yep, back to a sprint, another 6 furlong sprint. Where do you see this going, Coach?
Well, here again, one of my traits as a horse player, I'm very loyal to a certain segment of trainers. The pick here will surprise you. Some of my buddies listening to the pod will not be surprised. Of course, you have to include the 6, Pat Daddy. Look at his record at Oaklawn. He's 3 out of 3 on the surface. I used the 6. I used the 4. Midnight Las Vegas had a great race the other day, second behind Ruler of the Nile, which is a win machine. I used the 9. DRC all-inclusive. I think he closes well into some pace. I did not use Scrutinizer, although I wouldn't fault those that did, but the one that I'm going to play to get the money and probably be the only guy I know that plays a horse that ran 10th by 18.5 lengths on his most recent out. They're going to cut him back to 6 furlongs. He's got a win and a second out of 3 trips at 6 furlongs. He's got a solid Tomlinson number at 380. I'm really a big fan of the trainer, Aaron Shorter. Horse came out of the race sound, did not like the off-going. I'll play the 1, Solomonic.
So you like 6, Pat Daddy, and you like the number 1, Solomonic.
I'm playing the 1 to win place, and I'm going to use the 469 under him and over him. Yeah.
All right. Well, Coach, I agree with your pick, number 6, Pat Daddy. I see that as a great value pick. Runs a great buyer at Oaklawn Park. Orlando Mojico paired with Norman McKnight. Good numbers on the sprint in the dirt for the trainer, 20%, 26% respectively. Had a little bit of a bad performance last out, but has had some excellent recent performances, winning 2 6 furlong races. Let's see, it's July of 19, August of 19. Okay, well, so actually we have a little bit of a layoff here. So maybe coming off the layoff, we're going to see something out of Pat Daddy. Hopefully so. I've got him in my mix. I found this race to be, again, the theme is balance. This is a tough one. The only tosses I could really justify is number 8, Barstool Budget, number 10, Loudon's Gray. Tossed both of them. And what I am going to do in lieu of this, it is a very tough race to pick. I'm going to go back down to a pretty basic, inexpensive bet in Exacta Box. Going to do $1 Exacta Box. Going to do 2, the 6, and the 9. If that comes in, that should pay well. I don't think you're going to see a very big price on any of these horses that is in my exotic, except for perhaps the number 2 Scrutinizer. Well, let's move on, Coach. Got some more races to do here. We're at race number 7. We're back to a roots race, mile and a 16th. What I'm seeing in this race, let me get my notes here, Coach. Again, a lot of horses that I could justify. Balance yet again. But if you just make me have to make another bet on a race here, I like the number 9 horse, Brooder Bob. Like the David Cohen, Mac Robertson combination. Like the works look good. The dirt number looks good. The Oaklawn Buyer looks good. I think that's going to be a fine horse. I like the number 7, My Sixth Sense, with Steve Hovey and Garcia combination. This horse won its last out by 6.5 lengths. 94
that horse has won
Buyer.
3 in a row. Sorry to talk over the top of you, but look at the deal. That horse has won 3 in a row. He's won 3 in a row by 6.5, by 5.5, by 4.5. He's been on fire.
Hot horse. The works are also excellent. 6.28, 1 of 50. Look at the trainer stats. When he's won the last start, he's 46%, paying $4.55. Really like the number 7 horse. I also like the number 2 horse. He's turned in some really nice recent performances, being in the money in the last 3 outs, running a 89 Buyer at Oaklawn. That would be the number 2 horse, Exemplar. So I am going to take those 3 horses, the 2, the 7, and the 9, and I'm going to do a basic Exacta Box. Really could not toss enough horses to justify a bigger exotic bet than that. Now, I could possibly formulate this one out into a superfecta with 279 fighting for the first position, then adding 1, 4, 5, 6, and 8 for the second, repeating that for the third, and then wheeling it out with all. It'd be a bit of a pricey bet, but I don't see this being a very successful superfecta pool for the average bettor, and might turn out to be a pretty good payday. What do you think, Coach?
I like your analysis of the race. I've got 3 horses here. I got the 7, I got the 8, and I got the 9. Definitely Brooder Bob's last race was very, very good. Ran behind Lone Sailor, just barely gets beat, comes back with a work. So the horse is fit. The horse is in good stead right here, ready to run. The 7 will no doubt be the favorite and a deserving favorite. I guess a little bit of a contrarian theory here. How many times can he keep winning? Sooner or later somebody's going to beat him. However, he wins by 6.5. He comes back, works a bullet workout after the race. He is in such fine condition. One angle play here that I looked at, the 8 horse, 40 under. His race wasn't that bad. He was on the lead. He ended up third in a competitive race. Come back with a nice workout. They've changed the jockey to go from Channing Hill to Mojica. Jeremiah Englehart, a tremendous trainer, and a little trivia. Mark, do you know who owns this horse?
I do not.
August Dawn Farm is none other than two-time Super Bowl champion football coach Bill Parcells.
No kidding.
Yep. So we're playing. I'm gonna take. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna box a 7, 8, 9. I'm gonna play winning place on the 8.
Coach, is that a number 8 horse? Does it concern you? And this concerns me. Out of its career, $201,500 of its $210,000 purses has come from turf. Do you think this horse is going to effectively make the leap from being primarily a turf horse to the dirt track at Oaklawn?
I don't know. Although I will say that his race, I'm not disappointed in his race the other day. I don't think that was a bad race, and he came back with a good workout. I'll tell you, scanning the situation here one more time, I look at this horse based on what he's done on turf. I'm kind of suspecting that he won't necessarily have to be right on the lead because there's some other speed in here. And by the way, I'll give you props. You might have the price play in your mix on this 2-horse exemplar. David Vance, this is, he's an old veteran trainer, and this is the kind that goes under the radar. He's never done real well at this distance was the only concern I have with him. But I'm gonna take, sometimes you make one more play. I didn't play this horse his first race. I'm going to take a play here on him.
All right. Well, going to be a very balanced race, be an exciting race. I mean, as I sit here and I look at the form and I look at what I found to be significant and important, I start second guessing myself about a lot of things, Coach. I mean, I could sit here and make a case for, let's say, number 5, Street to Indy.
Yeah, that was the one. My gosh, do you remember?
It's great jockey trainer, great buyer figure, won its last race. If you look at all
20, look at the odds. Mark, I'm sorry again to interrupt, but look at the odds. This was the one that I said, if this doesn't make him go to the test barn, I don't know what will. That was a Diodoro horse that went off at 27-1. That horse went by the field 2.5 lengths is maybe a little light. I thought he won by more than that, but he blew by that field like they were standing still at 27-1.
Yeah. You can see, definitely, you could throw that horse in the mix, make a case. I mean, that is the theme of this card, is balance within the races. I have a tough time passing that up. You look at all the trainer stats for this type of race. We're above 25% on a lot of them. One last start, 28%, dirt 27%, roots 27%, claiming 26%. Oh gosh, so yeah, I could see a lot of value in that, possibly. But I'm going to stick with my initial thoughts on it. Stick with the 2, the 7, and the 9. All righty. Well, we've made it to the 8th race. We're back down to a sprint. What we got going on in this race, $86,000 purse, 4-year-olds and upwards. We got an allowance here. Got a field of, got an 8-horse field here. What is your strategy for tackling race number 8?
Well, one thing that is interesting, and I didn't use the horse, but the morning line favorite is the 4-horse trained by none other than Bob Baffert.
Yeah, when you see that name in a race, you cannot ignore what is being brought to the track. Bob Baffert's bringing in a horse. You better include it somehow.
Yeah, the reason I tossed him, and I may get burned on it, He's never put a hoof on an Oaklawn soil. Didn't even have a workout on it. I'm not going to use him, but again, that could be foolish. They gave $300,000 for the horse. They obviously is well meant. I'm going back with a horse that I had the the second weekend, and he would have completed my pick 5. I had him singled in a pick 5. I hit every other leg. He didn't get there. I'm going to play Tough Love, the 1, and I'm going to use him with the 2, Royal de Hair for Jimmy DeVito, one of my favorite money trainers, and the 5, Candy Cornell. I'm going to play the 1 with a 2-5.
Wow. Excellent pick, Coach. I too like number 1, Tough Love, but I am not going to discount the appearance of Bob Baffert here. I am going to go ahead and include him in my bet. Oh goodness! So just on the whole, I like 1, 4, and I like the 5. So we're kind of unanimous here on everything, but our third horse, you like the number 2. I like Baffert's horse. I'm going to stick it in any of my bets. Yep. You say a lot of nice things about number 5, Candy Cornell. Like the jockey-trainer combo, Diodoro and Cohen. They work very well together. Very, very successful. Excellent recent outs. In the money twice. Like the Oaklawn Park buyer at 84. Has ran.
Yeah, and you'll notice in the note, you'll notice in that note he got bumped at the start. So, I mean, he ran a good race here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Has ran against Tough Love before, came out ahead. So I like the Dirt Fast buyer is at a 97. So, I mean, very capable horse. And ran that figure back in July of last year. I think we could see a repeat of that. I didn't, the only thing that gave me a little pause is that the works look a little middling. Could be the horse is a little tired. I don't know. But I think we're going to get a good price on number 5, Candy Cornell. Yep, the number 1, like that too. Solid buyer for the park. Good recent workout. Good jockey aboard. But, you may find what I find interesting here, neither one of us are taking the Asmussen-Santana combo American mandate. What do you see wrong with this horse that you would? I mean, I see right out of the gate, Candy Cornell and Tough Love have run against this horse before and beat it. What do you think?
Well, the horse. I mean, these are non-winners of 2. And I guess my angle is this horse had 11 chances to get his second win. He does have 6 seconds. That's probably why I kicked him.
Yeah. Well, I think my strategy on this, I think we're going to get such a good price on the other horses because, the betting public sees Bob Baffert, the horse is going to get bet down. So if you can include some horses that have a better price in a bet, you're going to do well because just because it's Bob Baffert doesn't mean the horse, the horse is going to win. The horse could very easily come in second or third. So what I'm going to do with this race, I'm going to do a 1-4-5 Jack the Box. Should be a cheap bet, but I think it will be it has the potential to be, at least pay you back if the bet down Baffert horse gets in there. But if you get one of the better priced horse first, you can do well on it. I'm also, when I get, and I did this last week with daily doubles with the Dixie Belle, I bet specially very heavily, used it as a pivot in my daily double bets. Got covered, it blew up on me, Coach. I got covered in chalk dust, but this time I feel a little bit better about the Baffert horse. But I learned my lesson. So I'm going to daily double this 145, and then 9-2 in the next race. So I'm going to do 2 bets, a 145 exacta box and a daily double 145 with 9-2 in the next race. Moving on to the next race, this should be our stakes race of the day, $125,000 purse, the Down the Dusty Road Breeders' Race, 6 furlong sprint. Interesting field, very interesting field. Where do you see this race going?
Well, I think you got some different angles. I tell you, a horse that was visually exceedingly impressive is a horse that just broke his maiden, the 6-horse Sakani. He wins by 10 lengths, and man, I think you have to use him. I also used the 9-horse owned by Alex and Joanne Leblanc of Conway, Bye Bye J. Then I threw in a few that I thought might be a little bit of a price. I put Moquette's horse in there. All he's done is go 2 for 2. And he made a really good closing move to win that race on February 1st. I used the 8 Superstar B, again, Mac Robertson, and I'm talking about exotics here, maybe a tri-box, maybe a super box. And then I'll give you one that will be totally under the radar, that if I play a tri or super, I will not leave out. And that is the one, Mattapan.
Well, I'm looking at that horse. I see the trader stats look good for this type of race. I see a respectable high 60s buyer, and I see 2 past performances here. Did not fare well in his last race, but I see 2 5-furlong races here in the money, winning one by 5 lengths. Not one that I would include in my formulations. What is it that you're seeing here that I'm not seeing, Coach?
The Tomlinson number at the distance is the highest in the field at 411.
Well,
and I went
there
back.
You go.
I went back.
That escaped my gaze, Coach. I do see that 411 at the distance.
And I went back and looked at his races. I looked back at the race on April of last year. Firewater Rocket. Joy in the Journey. Joy in the Journey has come back and won this year at Oaklawn already. So, again, I'm not saying I'm betting this horse to win in place. I am saying in an exotic wager, I'm definitely including the 1. I think the 1 is a potential, and I'm not saying a large percentage chance. I think he has a potential to blow the tote board up because he will be overlooked.
Wow. That's, oh, wow. That's something to think about. I had a tough time formulating a bet for this race, Coach. I may reformulate it now that we've had our conversation for the week. Right now, I think that this is going to be a duel between the 2 and the 9. We both agree on the 9. It's a good-looking horse. What I'm liking about it, of course, you got the Santana-Asmussen combo. Has shown a lot of promise in the past. Back April last year, won its race, but has coming off a pretty big layoff. Now, the buyer figure for Oaklawn Park on this horse is 87. This horse has raced against Tiger Bait and All About Clara and Superstar B before, has won against them all, so definitely a horse that's a higher class, at least 4 of our 11 in the field. The only thing that concerns me about number 9 is the layoff. You always got to wonder what's with the layoff. The works have not looked solid. They're there. but they don't look very solid. So could be the horse maybe has a nagging issue with maybe a pain injury. I don't know, but I'm definitely not going to discount that at all. I really like the potential of this horse. I'm going to keep it there in a duel with number 2, Blushing Bella. I like the trainer stats on this. First claim, 33%, dirt, 27%, sprint, 24%, stakes, 23%. And you got our top trainer in there, coming off a 3 in the money races, very recent ones, February 20th, January 1st, December 14th. Placing in his last outing, losing the race by a half of a length. Not the most impressive buyer figure, but I think a solid horse. And going back to number 9, it's just a different class of horse, and that's why you've got to seriously consider that horse in your bet as a favorite. So in this race, I feel good about the 2-9. It's the second half of my daily double from race 8, but beyond that, I could maybe justify this with an exacta pick, 2-9, and then maybe wheel it with 3, 4, 5 in the second position. But now that we have this talk about number 1, I'm thinking, man, I could be missing out on a payday there. I may reformulate that before we publish the podcast. We'll see.
Okay.
So everybody take a look, see where we go there. All right, so we've come to the final race of the day. We're back to the roots. Not a lot to work with here on numbers. Got a lot of good jockeys. Got a lot of good trainers. What angle would you take looking at a race like this, a maiden special weight on the roots? These are 3-year-old horses. Not a lot of history. What's the angle here?
Here's the deal. These are 3-year-old horses. Some of them hadn't had very many outs. You're correct. Most of them are expensive. You've got the 1 horse, $180,000. You've got the 2 horse, $275,000 on down through the line. My angle would be this. I don't have a win bet in this race. Probably it will be on the tail end of a late pick 4, a late pick, or the pick 5. And I think you've got one of 2 choices. You're going to have to use several horses, or you're going to single the 1. The 1, Taraz, unfortunately, broke down the other day in a workout and had to be euthanized. It was actually a week ago. Was very, very well thought of. Very, very well thought of. Big time, like Kentucky Oaks. I mean, that's what they were pointing to. It was a very, very good horse. Brad Cox had that horse. This horse ran second, albeit by 3 lengths, but ran second to that horse. This horse has actually already won once. He got disqualified at the fairgrounds. So, to me, you either play the 1 or you use several of them.
I agree. There are a lot of pricey horses in this race. And the angle I took here, I agree. I like the 1. Joe Sharp doesn't run a lot of horses, but the ones that he does run, he gets in the money. I mean, he's got 6 in the money, 12 runs. It's 50%. I like that. I like Garcia Board. I like the Oaklawn Park Fire. Excellent past performance. They've been recent. He can run at this distance. So definitely you have to include the 1. Now, beyond that, what do you do? So I could justify some jockey trainer combinations, but, just a lot of these numbers are just weak, Coach. They're just weak. I don't know what to do with them. Now, I looked at number 4, Best Intentions, and we haven't given Asmussen much love in this card, but I think this horse could certainly duel for one of the top 3 positions, has good recent outs. I'm going to include this horse in my formulation. I like number 6, Glamour Girl. I'm taking a works angle on number 6, Glamour Girl. Respectable 65 buyer, Oaklawn Park. The works have looked really good. 4 of 50, 11 of 80, 6 of 20, 14 of 25. Last outing at a mile and a 16th came in third at 8.5 to 1. Not running as light as it ran last time, but running at 115 pounds. So I think there'll be a good price on that horse. I think a good price on Best Intentions. And I think we agree on the 1. So I think the way I'm going to formulate this is I'm going to go with a trifecta box, 146, 146. Last position, 1, 2, and 4 through 6. So I see this as definitely the 1 horse. You've got to keep him in your formulation. For the second position, dueling for second position, I could make a case for other horses, but I think that the recent performances in the works for 4 and 6 shows there could be a lot of value there. Now, I think the 4 may get bet down because, again, you got the betting public. They see the Asmussen. I mean, he's kind of the brand name of trainers, and people like to go with him. You know, if you're a low-information handicapper, that's what you go with. But in this case, I think it's legit.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, that's quite a card. It was a brain buster for sure, Coach.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
I spent about 7 hours poring over this card. A lot of consternation. The balance, it's pretty maddening. It doesn't make for good handicapping, but it does make for very exciting races. And I think we're going to have a very exciting, a lot of suspense there coming down the back stretch on Saturday. You're going to make it out this Saturday?
Well, I'm going to be actually playing on my digital apparatus on my iPad. My wife and I will be in Branson, Missouri at Big Cedar Lodge for a wedding. Really good friend of my oldest stepson is getting married, and my lovely bride celebrating her 59th birthday on Sunday. So we'll be cozy up at Big Cedar Lodge, but we will have our Oaklawn Anywhere app up and running.
You have announced the lady's age to the public, Coach.
Well, she's a good. Hey, but see, when you're listen to me, when you're as good looking as my wife is, and you say she's 59, then everybody says, "Wow, she looks awesome at 59." Wow,
Coach with the save.
That's it. That's it. You gotta have those ready, Mark. You know that.
Throw from the outfield.
That's right.
Oh, goodness.
Hey,
well,
let's enjoy a La Polina around the track. Again, we broadcast or put this together the day before. I will be out Friday in case anybody wants to stop by and talk horses. And just another great week of wire to wire.
Absolutely. Coach, it has been a pleasure, and I will talk to you next week. You have a safe trip.
Thank you, Mark. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Coach. All right. Bye-bye.